Okay, welcome back. I want to take a minute here just to quickly explain science and how it works so that you can maximize it and not overspend on it. So the way it works, you've got this number up here. This is your total empire research potential. It goes through some calculations, and you end up under each of these fields having an actual output. And then that is what you use in your research project. So that says it's 412K. If I go to weapons, this one costs 1,248K, which means because that 400 was annual, that means that would take me about 3 years to research that from start to finish. There are other things that you can do to speed that along, such as your crash. Well, there's really only one way, and that's a crash course. You can pay for it. If I click on it again, I could pay 214,000 credits and do a crash course, and then it would do 3 times that speed, so it would be done in a year instead of 3 years. So that's where that applies to research. So where do these numbers come from? All right, so your total empire research potential will start out very low, and it'll grow, and it'll approach a max. So it's not linear. It will approach a max of somewhere 1,300. I've seen 1,400, I think. So somewhere along that line, but it'll approach it, and then it'll start to drop off on how fast you can increase it. So the point of that is so that small empires, a very large empire, let's say that's 10 or 20 times larger, will not have a 10 or 20 times larger research potential. So that helps keep things moving along, I guess, fairly, so to speak. But what contributes to that number? That number basically is going to grow on its own as you play the game. But the formula that I found, and it's got some magic in it, is just your strategic value times your development times your total population, and then times some sort of constant. Now, strategic value, to be honest with you, I don't know how that gets calculated, but you can find it um, where you, that's game editor. That's not where you find it. Get out of this. Exit. Clear. Okay, let's try this again. It's under this one here. Your empire comparison, if you go over to this tab here, strategic value, mine is actually in the lead, so it's really easy to tell. My strategic value is 5,710. Then you multiply that by my development, overall development, and by my total population. And there's some kind of constant that you multiply it, and you get that number. However, that's not super important. Like I said, that will go up on its own. But what do you do with this number to find out all of this? And do you just put space or research stations at every location that has a bonus? So, for example, if I go over here and look at potential research locations, this one has a 30% bonus to energy, 29 to weapons. Do I build stations at all of these? Well, the answer is no, and here's why. So the first thing in your calculation, this is the total potential that you can get before any modifiers are added. Now, what you do to find out for each category what you're going to get is you have to find out the ratio. So if all of these, instead of 400, 375, 345, if all of them were 400, then my weapons output before modification would be 1/3 of this. Energy would be 1/3, high tech would be 1/3. But because they're not evenly spaced, you have to calculate the proportion to each one. So you would add them all up, then that total you would divide 405 by that total, and you would get the ratio. You would multiply that ratio times this, and that is your base weapons research production. After you do that, then you start using these multipliers over here. Every field will get a 20%, so you'd multiply times 1.2. My race gives me a 10%, so you multiply it by 1.1. And then you get down to your weapons research. Now, what happens here is what you want to do, and I think I might have misspoke in the original video on setting up, but what you want to do is you want to try and get your best scientists in a particular field at a research location for that particular field. So each bonus is going to come from a station, not from the specific scientist. So at this weapons research station, it's getting a 29% bonus. Well, all of that 29% is from the location. I don't have a scientist there that gives me a weapons bonus. So all I'm going to get is 29. So I would take that number that I got, multiply it, with the additional 20%, additional 10%, and then an additional 29%, and I will get this number, 412. And you can do that with all of them. So down here under the energy research, I've actually got an energy research specialist at that location. So my energy research has 30% from the location, and then an additional 18% for the scientist at that location. My high tech, I've got 15% for location and no bonuses for my scientist at that location. And if I go and look at my characters, I've got 2 scientists. I should be moving one of those over. So if I were to move, I don't have a good weapons scientist, but I do have good energy and good high tech. So if I go back here and look, I've got the bonus here at the energy one. I don't have someone at my high tech facility. So my high tech facility from Antar Research, I'm going to go to my character, wrong screen, character. Okay. My high tech, where are you? High tech, energy. Now I done forgot. Sorry, when you get old, you start forgetting things. I need to do it for my high tech. So it is high tech. High tech, character, the scientist that I have, a good high tech one. Move him onto the Antar Tech Research Station. Transfer. Now I do that, and it's going to take a certain period of time for him to get there. It tells me I'm going to arrive on 2147, which is just 6 days. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause it. We're going to wait 6 days, which I believe has passed. And now I'm going to go back in here. Hopefully this works. High tech. I still don't have my scientist bonus there. Wonder if he's not there yet. Go back in here. I promise this really does work. There's my high tech guy. He's transferring. He's still transferring. Doesn't say. It says his estimated time of arrival is 12:46, 12:09, 46. Oh gosh. Okay. Got to let it run a little bit more. So sometimes you will also have a scientist that has a bonus to. I'm gonna get this ship refueling so it'll stop beeping. You'll get a bonus to Empire-wide, and it'll say that. It'll list that bonus Empire-wide. Here's something. So if you ever start building up a lot of money, just be aware this crisis happens every now and then. And look at how much I lost. In our efforts to contain the crisis, we lost 1.3 million. So just be wise. Sometimes sitting on your money is not a good idea. You'll lose it. So if you start hoarding money, that'll happen. So anyway, we'll let that go. I think he's already there, right? Or was it going to be? All right. Let's just check. He is this one. And he is researching. So now if I go into this, you will see that my high tech is now getting 29. And it's a 15% for location and 15% for that scientist. And if there was that bonus that I was mentioning, if there was a scientist that gave a global bonus, it would be above these stations. So that's what you want to do. You basically only need 3 locations. I prefer to do 2. I keep the bulk of my science at my home base just because it's the most well protected and the least to fall. However, if it did fall, I would be really out of luck. Then you want 1 for each site. You want to find a good site. As you find new sites, scrap the one and move it or build another one. At those sites, you want to make sure that that station and or a lot of defense bases are present so that you can protect that location. If it comes under attack, I've never actually tried this, but I would think you would want to try and transfer him out of there ASAP to see if you can get him out before it's destroyed. If it's destroyed with him in it, you lose him. So anyway, that's how that works. I hope that helps. Thank you very much for watching.